All right, we're about to jump into a really short but man, an incredibly dense prophecy from the book of Isaiah. It's this passage that uses some powerful, almost cinematic imagery to describe a coming day of judgment. And it all boils down to one specific human failing: pride.
So the prophecy just kicks off with this command, this desperate plea. You can feel the terror immediately. This isn't a friendly suggestion, it's an order. Go, hide. Something is on its way that is so huge, so majestic, that the only logical thing to do is just disappear into the earth.
And that, immediately makes you ask, what on earth could possibly cause this level of fear? Well, the text doesn't leave us hanging for long. It's all about a specific event, a day of reckoning.
What Isaiah is doing here is laying out a blueprint for a day when everything that humanity builds up, everything we're so proud of, is going to be humbled. And he doesn't do it with, abstract philosophical ideas. He uses these tangible, really potent symbols.
Now, it's really easy for us to hear the day of the Lord and think of one single, final, end-of-the-world event. But what's interesting is that for the prophets, this could also mean specific historical moments of judgment, times when God used nations like Assyria or Babylon as tools to humble a proud people.
And here it is. This is the core principle, kind of the thesis statement for this entire passage. The whole point of that day is a great reversal. Human arrogance, our lofty looks, will be brought down low so that God's greatness is the only thing left standing. It's like a recentering of the universe, away from human achievement and back to the divine.
And Isaiah gets very, very specific here. He starts listing the targets of this judgment, and he does it using these powerful metaphors, symbols drawn right from the world his audience would have known like the back of their hand. He kicks things off with the natural world.
First on the list, the cedars of Lebanon. You have to understand, in the ancient world, these were the kings of the forest. They were unbelievably tall, majestic, symbols of power and permanence. So when Isaiah says judgment is coming for them, he's not talking about chopping down trees. He's talking about the princes, the nobles, the ruling class, the elite of society who seem totally untouchable. And then right after that, he mentions the oaks of Bashan. These trees were known for their raw strength and sturdiness. So they represent something a bit broader. Not just the tippy-top elite, but all proud and lofty people. This isn't a judgment just for kings. It's for anyone whose own strength has become a source of really deep-rooted arrogance.
So this is a really crucial point, because Isaiah pivots here. After using these symbols from nature to talk about proud people, he shifts gears and starts talking about man-made objects. He's showing that this humbling isn't just some internal, spiritual thing. It's also about taking apart the external things we rely on for our security and our status.
And he really zeroes in on 4 categories. You could almost call them the 4 pillars of human pride and self-reliance. And they were common back then, but wow, are they still recognizable today? Our defenses, our commerce, our wealth, and our luxuries.
First, you've got the high towers and the fenced walls. These are symbols of military might and self-protection, right? This is all about humanity trying to build its own security, trusting in our own engineering instead of God. And the parallel here to the Tower of Babel is just brilliant. It's the same story. Humans trying to build their way to invincibility only to be humbled.
Then there are the pleasant pictures, which is a catch-all for luxury, art, and all the treasure we accumulate. And there's a perfect and really tragic example of this. King Hezekiah of Judah, in this moment of pure vanity, gives some Babylonian envoys a grand tour of his treasury. He's just showing off. And Isaiah comes to him right after and basically says, hey, because you showed all this stuff off with such pride, all of it is going to be carried off to Babylon one day. The pride came right before the fall.
And this brings us to that final man-made symbol, which, wow, this might just be the most fascinating one of them all, the ships of Tarshish.
See, these weren't just any old boats. The ships of Tarshish were the absolute pinnacle of international trade, wealth, and mobility. They were the engine of the global economy back then. They represented power, influence, and the ability to go anywhere to reach the farthest corners of the known world.
And here's where it all clicks. Think about it. Where was the prophet Jonah going when he decided to run away from God's command? He boarded a ship to Tarshish. It was the ultimate symbol of escape. And well, as the story shows, that didn't work out so well for him. You can't outrun or outsail divine authority.
So when you put all these symbols together, the message becomes crystal clear. It doesn't matter if you hide in natural fortresses like mountains, or build your own like towers and walls, or accumulate massive wealth, or try to flee on the most advanced technology of the day. None of it gives you ultimate security.
The day of the Lord is a complete and total humbling of every single thing humanity relies on instead of God.
And that just leaves us with this final, really powerful question, doesn't it? Isaiah's prophecy, even though it's thousands of years old, feels incredibly modern. Our world is still full of towers, treasures, and all sorts of ways to flee. So his words really force us to ask, if all of that can be brought low in a single day, what's left? Where is true security really found?